This vet doctor was wandering deep into the jungle when he heard a familiar trumpeting sound from an elephant he saved years ago. What the elephant did after the reunion shocked everyone who heard the story. Dr. Patara Manad, a wildlife vet, was feeling a bit restless at his camp in the Rayang woodland of eastern Thailand, so he decided to go for a walk. He loved taking in the sights of the animals and the peaceful beauty around him, and he appreciated how committed the animal park was to protecting these creatures in their natural habitat. Lost in thought, he wandered deeper into the forest, unaware that he was straying far from his base. As Patara strolled through the dense jungle, the sudden blast of an elephant's trumpet cut through the air, catching him off guard. He froze, his heart racing with surprise. For a second, fear crept in, but he quickly laughed at himself. Shaking off the nerves, he decided it was smarter to return to the safety of camp. Elephants were gentle, sure, but they were still enormous, and he didn't want to upset them. Still, something about the trumpet felt oddly familiar, tugging at his memory. Curiosity got the better of him, and he slowly moved toward the sound. With each step, he could feel the earth tremble under the weight of the approaching elephants, their calls growing louder and clearer. From a slightly raised spot, Patara peered through the trees and spotted the massive animals pulling leaves and fruit from a tall tree. They looked strong and at peace, as if they had finally moved past the trauma of their pasts. Many of them had survived poaching, and it had made them naturally wary of humans. Patara stayed hidden, quietly watching from above. He was moved by their strength and thought back to the many animals he'd treated and rescued over the years. Patara tried to crouch for a better view, shifting his balance slowly. But fate wasn't on his side. He slipped and tumbled down from the small cliff. The quiet of the jungle was shattered by the sudden rustling and thud of his fall. The three elephants nearest him immediately turned their enormous heads toward the noise. The sudden attention sent chills through Patara's body. He stayed completely still, hoping they wouldn't see him as a danger. But their eyes locked on him, filled with a mix of curiosity and caution. Patara, fully aware of the fragile situation, held his breath and waited to see what they'd do next. But the elephants didn't move. The vet and the herd stood frozen, and it seemed like it was up to him to make the first move. Determined to ease the tension, Patara tried to stand up and show the elephants that he meant no harm. But a sharp jolt of pain shot through his right knee, leaving him stuck on the forest floor. He groaned, unable to move, and fear crept in as he watched the largest of the three elephants slowly step toward him. It looked irritated, or maybe it was just hiding its own fear behind a show of strength. Patara regretted not turning back sooner. Sitting helpless on the ground, his fear grew stronger, until something unexpected happened. The nervous elephant's posture softened, shifting from defensive to curious, as if it was trying to figure something out. Still wincing from the pain, Patara was puzzled by this sudden shift. As the enormous elephant drew closer, his fear gave way to a strange sense of familiarity. That same trumpet he had heard earlier now stirred something deep within him, like an echo from the past. Then, as the elephant approached, Patara caught sight of a unique pattern on its ear, and a wave of realization hit him. This wasn't a stranger. It was the same elephant he had rescued 12 years ago. Still unsure, but driven by hope, Patara reached out his hand toward the gentle giant. Fear and wonder mixed inside him as he waited. Slowly, the elephant extended its trunk toward him, responding to his gesture with calm and purpose. The moment their skin touched, a flood of emotion swept over Patara. That powerful bond formed all those years ago during a life-saving rescue had endured the test of time. The elephant remembered. Its gentle touch said more than words ever could. In that instant, memories came rushing back, bridging the years between then and now. Patara's mind drifted back in time to when he first met this very elephant in the Rayang woodland of Thailand many years earlier. Back then, he was a younger vet just starting out, on a safari through the thick forest. Driving slowly through the trees, his sharp eyes caught sight of a young elephant, one he'd later know as Fong, standing weak and barely able to stay upright on the side of the road. Its mournful trumpeting rang with despair, and it swayed slightly, clearly too frail to keep going. With his training and instincts kicking in, Dr. Potaro knew right away that something was seriously wrong with Fong. He hit the brakes and jumped out of the vehicle, carefully observing the animal. The elephant's face, neck, belly, and eyes were swollen, and its body was alarmingly thin. Even from a distance, he could tell the poor creature had a high fever and was in serious distress. Potaro's heart sank as he realized how serious the situation was. Drawing on his years of veterinary training, he quickly diagnosed the young elephant, Pong, as suffering from acute trypanosomiasis, a deadly disease carried by the tsetse fly. The elephant was in critical condition, and urgent treatment was the only chance for survival. Moved by the animal's suffering, Potaro felt a deep wave of compassion and promised himself he'd do whatever it took to save Pong. Without wasting a second, he grabbed his satellite phone and called his medical team. He gave them the details of the emergency, shared his coordinates, and stressed the need for a vehicle that could carry a sick elephant. As Potaro waited for help to arrive, he approached Pong with a tranquilizer dart gun, intending to sedate the elephant. But to his surprise, the poor creature showed no signs of resistance. Gently, Potaro lowered the dart gun, realizing sedation wouldn't be necessary. Pong, too weak to stay upright, collapsed right in front of him, gasping for breath as though every inhale might be the last. Watching the scene unfold broke Potaro's heart, and he rushed to the elephant's side. The young elephant's eyes were barely open, its body exhausted and still. As their eyes met, Potaro felt a powerful wave of emotion. There was something unspoken in that gaze, a plea for help. He leaned in and softly spoke comforting words, hoping to offer strength and the will to fight for life. Soon the medical team arrived with a suitable transport truck. Noting Pong's calm and surrendered state, Potaro convinced them that tranquilizers wouldn't be needed. Instead, they focused on the difficult task of moving the heavy animal onto the truck. With care and teamwork, they succeeded in loading Pong while keeping him as comfortable as possible. Determined to stay by Pong's side, Dr. Potaro joined the ride to the animal hospital. Armed with his medical kit, he immediately began checking the elephant's vitals, watching for any signs of change and preparing for treatment the moment they arrived. When they finally reached the veterinary facility, the next challenge was getting the exhausted elephant off the vehicle. Though heavy and barely able to stand, Pong managed to walk a few shaky steps toward the treatment room before collapsing once more. The entire hospital seemed to hold its breath. The mood turned heavy with urgency and concern. As the doors closed behind the fallen elephant, all attention shifted to the life-and-death battle ahead, fighting the illness that had overtaken Pong. Seeing signs of improvement from the initial treatment gave Dr. Potaro a glimmer of hope. He stayed by the elephant's side throughout, offering steady care and soft words of encouragement. As days turned into weeks, he began to notice Pong slowly recovering. During this healing journey, the bond between them grew stronger. Potaro's dedication to the young elephant was clear. He spent endless hours tending to him, not just with medicine, but with genuine affection and emotional comfort. But just as things seemed to be going well, Pong's condition suddenly worsened. His fever returned, rising quickly, and the absence of advanced equipment made things even harder. The progress they had fought so hard for now seemed to be slipping away, and doubts crept in about whether they could save him at all. Refusing to give up, Dr. Potaro poured all his energy into helping Pong recover. As the elephant lay weak and barely responsive, the vet lay beside him, whispering gentle words and staying close, hoping his presence could offer strength. To everyone's surprise, the elephant began to respond. Somehow, Pataro's warmth and comforting voice stirred something in him. Whether it reminded Pong of his mother or simply gave him peace, it made a difference. Joy rippled through the clinic as the young elephant's condition began to turn around. Soon the facility echoed with excitement as Pong stood up and took his first steps. After days of despair, this moment was a clear sign. He was getting stronger and on the road to recovery. In just a few more days, he was back to full health. Pong stood tall and energetic, full of life and strength once more. His resilience reflected not just his own spirit, but also the tireless efforts of the vet team and the special connection he shared with Dr. Pataro. Every time the vet approached, Pong would trumpet joyfully and gently tug at him with his trunk, as if thanking him over and over again. The look in the elephant's eyes said it all. This was a bond that words couldn't explain. Eventually, the day came when Pong was healthy enough to return to the wild where he belonged. For Dr. Pataro, it was a moment filled with pride and heartbreak. He was thrilled that Pong had survived, but letting go of the animal he had grown so close to was painful. Knowing it was time for Pong to rejoin his herd and live freely, Pataro steeled himself for the goodbye. As the elephant stepped into the forest, the vet's tears fell freely. Pong paused, turned back, and gave one last trumpet, like a final thank you and farewell. The sound of his gratitude lingered in the air, and Pataro broke down in tears. His colleagues, just as moved by the moment, offered him a handkerchief to wipe his eyes. After giving his final thank you, Pong continued on his way, slowly fading from view. For Dr. Pataro, that goodbye became a defining moment, one that would remain etched in his memory forever. Pong, with his gentle nature and unforgettable presence, had left a lasting imprint on his heart. The emotional farewell only strengthened Pataro's devotion to wildlife conservation, pushing him to work even harder as a veterinarian and advocate for animals everywhere. Motivated by this purpose, Pataro eventually returned to the Rayang woodland of Thailand, years after that fateful encounter. And there, surrounded by the forest's vibrant green, he once again stood before Pong, the same elephant he had once saved. It was a deeply moving reunion. As Pataro looked into the wise, familiar eyes of his old friend, he was amazed to feel recognition looking back at him. More than a decade had passed since their first meeting, but elephants are known for their extraordinary memory. Their powerful brains allow them to store and recall even the smallest emotional moments. In Pong's case, the rescue had clearly left a lasting impression. The bond they once shared hadn't faded. Feeling the sting from his injured knee, Pataro gently let go of Pong's trunk. He pulled a scarf from his waist bag and wrapped it tightly around the joint. While Pong quietly observed, the seasoned vet carefully adjusted his dislocated knee back into place, using the scarf for support. He let out a short groan of pain and reached again into his bag for painkillers. After taking a moment to steady himself, he managed to rise and limp a few steps forward, lifting his hands again toward the towering elephant. Pong, now fully grown and powerful, hadn't forgotten. Wrapping his trunk around Pataro, he pulled him close, just like he had 12 years before. With a loud trumpet, he expressed what words never could: recognition, affection, and a joyful "I missed you." The forest echoed with the sound, a harmony of reunion and cherished memories. Though his knee still throbbed, Pataro was overwhelmed with happiness. So many years had gone by, yet the bond remained strong and untouched by time. But reuniting with his old friend was only the beginning of what the day had in store. From a short distance away, two younger elephants, who had been watching silently, responded to Pong's gentle trumpet and began walking toward them. As they came closer, Pataro's eyes widened with delight. These were Pong's babies, a tiny one just a few months old, and another slightly older calf. Pong seemed to be proudly introducing his vet friend to his family, and at the same time introducing his children to the man who once saved his life. The sound of his gratitude lingered in the air, and Potaro broke down in tears. His colleagues, equally moved by the scene, offered him a handkerchief to wipe away his tears. After expressing its final thank you, Pong continued on its journey, gradually disappearing from sight. For Dr. Poole, this farewell marked an important moment that would forever remain engraved in his heart. Pong, with his gentle soul and profound impact, had left an indelible mark on his life. The emotional departure fueled Paro's commitment to animal conservation, inspiring him to redouble his efforts as both a veterinarian and a passionate advocate for the well-being of wildlife. Driven by his deep dedication to animal care, he returned to the Rayang woodland of Thailand after so many years. And there, surrounded by lush greenery, he stood once again face to face with Pong, the very elephant he had once rescued. The reunion was truly heartwarming. As Dr. Potaro looked into the wise, familiar eyes of his old friend, he was amazed to realize the elephant remembered him too. After all, more than 10 years had passed since their first meeting. But elephants are famous for their extraordinary memories. Their large, intelligent brains allow them to store deep emotional connections and vivid experiences. In the case of Pong and Dr. Potaro, that life-saving rescue had clearly made a lasting impression on the elephant's heart. Feeling the sharp ache in his injured knee, Dr. Potaro gently let go of the elephant's trunk. Reaching into his waist bag, he pulled out a scarf and quickly wrapped it around his knee. As Pong stood nearby and watched, the experienced doctor calmly realigned the dislocated joint, using the scarf as a temporary brace. A soft groan of pain escaped his lips as he fumbled in the bag again, this time for painkillers. Once he had taken them, he slowly rose to his feet, limping forward with effort, and extended his hands again. Pong, now fully grown and even more majestic, hadn't forgotten their bond. With towering strength, the elephant pulled Potaro close, using his trunk, just as he had done 12 years before. He let out a loud, joyful trumpet, as if to say, "I remember you, I missed you." The sound echoed through the forest like a song of reunion and cherished memories. Though his knee still throbbed, Dr. Potaro was filled with joy and peace. The time that had passed hadn't dimmed their connection. It remained as strong and heartfelt as ever. But seeing his old friend again was just the beginning of the day's surprises for Dr. Poole. Responding to Pong's gentle trumpeting, 2 younger elephants who had been watching from a distance began to move toward them. As they got closer, the vet's face lit up. These were Pong's babies, a months-old calf and another still young. Pong seemed to be proudly introducing his little ones to the man who had once saved his life, as if to say, "This is the human who gave me a second chance."